coming to the stage is a teenager. He started doing stand-up comedy when he was 12 years old, and his young age puts him in the same category as Seth Rogen, Eddie Murphy, and Dave Chappelle, all started as teenagers. Make some noise right now. Please give it up for my friend, Luke Metzidakis.
You guys, I've been doing comedy for about 6 years now. And every time I tell someone I do comedy, they always have the same reaction like, oh, Luke, you're a comedian? You do comedy? You're a stand-up comedian? You do comedy? Tell me a joke, Luke. You're a comedian? Tell me a joke. It's like that wouldn't happen with any other profession. Like if I told someone I was a cardiothoracic surgeon, they wouldn't be like, oh, you're a cardiothoracic surgeon? You're a surgeon? You're a cardiothoracic surgeon? Do a laparoscopic appendectomy. You're a surgeon? Do a laparoscopic appendectomy right now. It's like, if you keep asking me to do stupid shit, I'll give you a lobotomy, but No, this special is called Barely Legal, which means I am 18. And it's such a weird moment when you turn 18 because of the messages society sends you. They say, hey, you're 18. You're an adult now. You can consent to sex with a 107-year-old. But not that 17-year-old down the street. No, don't sleep with her because you could go to real jail for that now. They tell you, hey, look, you're an adult. You're an adult now in the eyes of the law. You should get a job. You should pay taxes. Hey, you should vote in the election. You know what? You should go fight and die based on the orders of a president you probably didn't vote for. Hey, put that beer down. Put that beer down. It's a very weird spot to be. But once I turned 18, I really started looking at my own identity and where I come from. I started looking back. And the stereotype about my people, Greek people, is that we love, and I mean we love, tax evasion. That's our national pastime. And look, you guys, I didn't think that was a fair stereotype. I didn't think that summed up our people well, until I became an adult in the eyes of the law, and suddenly taxation was on the horizon, and almost instantly I was like, you know what? Fuck the IRS. So maybe there's a little bit of truth there. No, I started looking back at my childhood too. And I found myself thinking about my childhood crush. Do you guys remember your childhood crush?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you do. I remember my childhood crush like it was yesterday. She was a white girl. In fact, she was so white that she had an eating disorder. It's called being vegan. Relax. I mean, she was also anorexic, but that's besides the point. Look, I'll never forget it. She came over for Thanksgiving to my house one year. And just as she walks in the kitchen, my mom pulls out of the oven the steaming, succulent, sizzling stuffed turkey. And my crush can smell the utter euphoric joy of dominating another species by consuming its dead. And faced with this delicacy, the girl says, excuse me, Mrs. Metzidakis, is there anything vegan for me to eat? And my mom, like a badass, just goes, oh, honey, don't worry. This turkey identified as broccoli. Maybe the single funniest moment of my life. My crush is going to UC Berkeley now because, of course she is. No, I really did start to look at my own identity, and I started to think that I needed to find my own views on religion too, and figure out my own spirituality. Do you guys believe in God? Just give me a hallelujah if you do. Hallelujah. Okay, I'm going to offend like 4 of you. See, something believers say is that God has a plan. This is God's plan. God has a plan. And I earnestly believe that. God has a plan. A business plan. See, the church is the most successful financial institution in history. And then the church became the #1 real estate owner on the planet, and they paid no taxes. Okay, the Bible, this dude is a best-selling author. Rosaries, that's God merch. He started with 1 son and now has 2.3 billion followers. That's better ROI than Apple. The church was like the first multi-level marketing scheme. That was like spiritual Herbalife. And because God is so successful, we ask him for a lot. We say, God, help me find the one. God, help me find the man of my dreams. God, help me find the woman of my dreams. God, help me find the furry of my dreams. Whatever floats your boat. But we forget God stole Mary away from Joseph. God was a homewrecker. And now we ask him for relationship advice? But it's true, we ask God for a lot. Like a couple months ago, I asked God for a new car. And then I realized God doesn't work that way, so I stole a car and asked God for forgiveness. You know, there are so many interpretations of God's bestseller. Like, people will use the Bible to defend or denounce whatever they want. Like, there's this one passage that people use. It says, man shall not sleep with man. And people cite it as evidence that homosexuality is a sin in the Christian faith. But that passage is actually a mistranslation. What the passage actually says is man shall not sleep with boy. The Bible condemns pedophilia, not homosexuality. Apparently the Catholic Church didn't read that part. This table's fun. I like you guys. No, I didn't grow up religious. But even so, Christmas was always a really big deal in my family. Like, every year we would all get together and go to each other's houses and share meals and break bread, and it was a really big celebration. It was an important part of our family identity. And one year, we were at a friend's house on Christmas Eve. I was 8 years old. And these friends had recently upgraded all of their technology. New phones, new laptops, new TVs, new everything. So they gave 8-year-old me one of their old tablets for Christmas. And 8-year-old me was so excited to play Fruit Ninja and watch YouTube. And I turn it on, and the screensaver is just a close-up photo of this woman's vagina. 8-year-old me, I didn't know what female genitalia looked like. So I turned the tablet around for everyone to see, and I said, hey, look, everyone, a pig's butt. And in that moment, my mom sees that her friend has given her 8-year-old son nudes, and she's pissed. And she's just standing there like, yeah, Jane, that's quite a pig's butt you've got over there. Now, I didn't grow up religious, but there are some seriously religious people out there. People who don't just take the Bible as truth, but they take it as literal, absolute scientific fact. You know, they'll tell you that Jesus literally walked on water, They'll tell you the earth was literally created in 6 days. They'll tell you evolution doesn't even exist. You'll hear them. How could we have evolved from chimpanzees if there are still chimpanzees? Think about it. See, that's how you know a theory is crazy. If the guy has to say, think about it at the end. That's certifiably nuts. I mean, you'll hear the flat earthers. How could the earth be round? Because gravity pulls you down. So if you were on the bottom, you would fall off. Think about it. You hear the climate deniers. How could there be global warming? It snowed last winter. Doesn't look that warm to me. Think about it. You guys, I actually have a legislative solution for climate change. All we've got to do is give global warming they, them pronouns. Because then Republicans will want to get rid of it too. Thank you. You know, we've become so sensitive about political identity and labeling. Like the worst offender is the word Latinx. You guys know the word Latinx? Yeah. Some Latin American feminists, they said, hey, wait a minute. Latinos is a masculine word. You can't refer to all Latin American people with a masculine word because that leaves out women. We're going to use the term Latinx instead. And you know what? It's a beautiful message. I agree with the sentiment. It's a beautiful message. But Latinx really sounds like a Mexican porn site. Every time anyone says Latinx, all I hear is like a Mexican radio announcer promoting the porn site, just Latinx, porno duro, totalmente en español, con chorizo muy muy grande y un chile relleno. Ay pues no, una chilena rellena y para postre, 3 leches. That's all that runs through my head. No, we've become sensitive and triggerable. And our solution? Therapy. 70,000 metric fuck tons of how did that make you feel? And let's go deeper into that next session. See, therapy teaches us that every one of our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and fears are worthy of the time of day, which they're not, especially not yours. I'm just playing. But seriously, of course therapy would teach that. Of course. Because the therapist gets paid by the hour, not by the resolved trauma. So if they can get you talking about something else that bothers you for a few more hours, they can get more money. More money. So you shouldn't believe that a therapist cares about your feelings for the same reason you shouldn't believe a hooker is in love with you just because you're sleeping together. They don't care about you, they care about your wallet. It's the same thing on a different couch. And have you guys ever noticed that you can't spell the word therapist without spelling out the rapist? Think about it. Duh. But I've noticed, men and women go to therapy for different reasons. Because men and women really are different creatures. And we deal with trauma differently. Women often say that men are simple creatures, that women are more complex. And it's often said almost as a brag. But how do you know being complex is a good thing? I mean, Japanese cars are simple and they run forever. See, men are like a shitbox Honda Civic from Facebook Marketplace. No matter what trauma, pain, suffering, and rejection you subject us to, we will just keep running with no maintenance and no help. You can shift from second to fifth and not come to our Little League games. You can rip the e-brake, dump the clutch, and forget to tell us we're deserving of love, and we'll just keep going until 472,000 miles, 22 years, and one too many abuses later, we blow a cylinder head and punch a hole in the wall that we cover with a tacky picture frame. That is the male experience. Women are more elegant than that. Women aren't like the 95 Civic with the same oil from the factory after 3 decades. No, women are like a classic Alfa Romeo. Beautiful, stylish, and constantly breaking down. You guys throw a serpentine belt every 1,000 miles, and you gotta change your fluids once a month no matter how gently you drive it. See, women take care of their maintenance over time. Men bottle it up until we seize our engine and snap connecting rods. We're both damaged, just for different reasons. And you know what? Those reasons manifest in how we deal with our trauma. Because I recently learned that 90% of suicides are men. But 90% of suicide attempts are women. So men are better at killing themselves. And it's because men and women's suicide attempts are exactly like their orgasms. Hear me out. See, men don't plan for their suicides. We do something quick, simple, and pragmatic. Gun to the head, leap off a skyscraper, jump in front of a moving train. Once and done, splat, over. Women have foreplay for their suicides. They write a note, they draw a bubble bath, they get a glass of Chardonnay, because you can't kill yourself without self-care. And then they lay back in the tub and slit their wrists or take a bunch of pills and let the pain languish over their final moments as they can begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel that gets closer and closer and closer. And just as they feel that they can finally let go, the EMTs come in and save their life. And they're like, God damn it! I was almost there and you men never let me finish. Look, us men, we may be simple creatures, all right? But it's not always easy. Because being a man, and especially having male genitalia, it's a lot like having a lovey-dovey golden retriever that always wants attention in your pants. It's hugely uncomfortable. And you have to suppress that urge every time you meet someone new. You go, no, Brittany is a friend. Just a friend. And then the dog in you is like, with benefits, roof, roof. And I go, no, down boy, I said down. Now sit. Okay, now beg. You know, actually, having a golden retriever is very hard for me because I like to date really smart girls. So I don't send golden retriever pics. No, I send equations. You want to know how big my golden retriever is? You better solve for X. Circumference is 2 pi r. Figure it out. I don't know what to tell you. Sometimes I say, you know what? Forget the equations. I just send like a shadow and a time of day. Just... I'm like, of course, being a man is exactly like having a golden retriever. Why do you think it is that every female protagonist of every rom-com ever has a gay guy best friend? Because his golden retriever is only interested in bones. Again, fun table, you guys. No, but straight men are so afraid of being labeled as gay that anytime we say something that can even vaguely be construed as gay, we say, oh, no homo. No homo, it doesn't count. I said no homo. No homo. But I don't think that works, because you can't do that in any other scenario. Like a 70-year-old Catholic priest with a bad Bible translation can't walk past a kindergarten like, oh yeah, those are sexy kids, but no pedo. Like, just to drive my point home, I want you guys to picture Hitler. Hear me out. In his bunker at the end of the war. He knows it's over. He puts his gun to his head and he just goes, no, Jeno. He doesn't now go to heaven. Like, I voted for Kamala Harris in the election. I can't now say, but no demo. No, I did vote in 2024. I turned 18 like 4 days before the election. And I was just unimpressed with my options. Like, I did not feel like I was living in an opportunity economy. Thank you, one person. No. Here's how unimpressed I was. If Forrest Gump was on the ballot, I would have voted for him. You know, if he went up on that debate stage and they say, Mr. Gump, why are you in this presidential race? And he goes, well, I just felt like running. You know, Mom always said America was like a fascist pseudo-democracy. You never know who you're gonna deport. He would have had my vote instantly. You know, the craziest thing about the political climate right now is that the slogans on the left and the right sound the same. Like the liberals for LGBTQ rights, they say, don't punch down, don't punch down, don't punch down on us. And the conservatives for gun rights, they say, don't tread on me, don't tread on me, don't tread on me. But those are practically the same slogan. So psychologically, the LGBTQ community and radical gun nuts are identical. They should team up. Let's put a snake on the pride flag. With a new motto, don't tread on them. But the don't tread on me people, they're very, very serious about their gun rights. And I get it. It's enshrined in the Constitution. But what I've never understood about the gun culture in this country is that in a nation so dedicated to the imperial system of measurement, inches, feet, yards, why do we have so many guns chambered in metric? Like a 9mm. Why? And I realized it's because the guns have to sound badass in rap songs. Because it sounds way more badass for a rapper to be like, hey, yo, I lit him up with a 9. Than for a rapper to be like, yeah, I took him down with my 1330 seconds, dog. Like, could you imagine Tupac on stage just, hey, yo, I keep this 29/64 tucked, homie. That's a 45 for those of you who aren't gangster enough to do fractions. I did actually do the math for that joke. But the gun culture in this country, it terrifies me. It really does, because I'm a senior in high school, and I see all these shootings on the news. It terrifies me. I just stopped looking because I knew they were going to be there every day. But it still pisses me off when I see shootings in other countries, because I expect better from other countries. And frankly, when there are shootings in other countries, I feel that it is cultural appropriation of the United States. See, because shootings are an American invention. It's like the F-150. Made in America, stays in America. Pickup trucks, chicken wings, shootings, that's our culture. But it's not just shootings that are being appropriated. It's our entire way of life. A couple years ago, I was in Paris, and I met a fat, illiterate French guy. I said, hey, that's offensive. That's our thing. Why do we have tariffs on cars? Put tariffs on Crisco. Preserve our way of life. You guys, actually, our way of life has changed a lot. And I know because my grandmother tells me stories of how things used to be when she was my age. My grandmother is 86 years old. Yeah, she was born in 1938. So before World War II even started. And back then, gender roles were much more entrenched than they are today. And my grandmother, she was determined to break the glass ceiling. At 16, she went to college and got a degree in mathematics. And then went job hunting, and all the jobs that utilized her degree were listed under help wanted men. But my grandma didn't care. My grandma is a stubborn New York Jew from Brooklyn. Let me teach you some Brooklyn sign language. Do you know what this means in Brooklyn? No, do you guys know what this means in Brooklyn? Hello. My grandma didn't care about gender roles. She would call the help wanted men ads anyways. They'd say, "What's your name?" She would go, "Alice, you sexist prick." And actually, she landed a job working at the Columbia University laboratories calculating Russian missile trajectories. See, yeah, her job was to figure out the algorithm to differentiate between dummy warheads and real warheads on Russian missiles so that the US could shoot down the correct ones. My grandma was an American hero. Thank you. Let's hear it for her. Yeah. But some part of those 1950s gender roles must have stuck with my grandma because she can't stop cleaning her apartment. Like, it looks like it's staged for an Airbnb photo shoot every morning. And actually, my grandma is such a neat freak that it saved her life twice. Death came knocking on my grandma's door. My grandma opens the door, there's death. Black cloak, bony hand wrapped around the handle of a shimmering scythe. And just as death is about to step into my grandmother's apartment and take her life, my grandma says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, take off your shoes." And death was like, "Ugh, this bitch, I can't, not today, no, I just can't." 6 months later, death comes knocking again. My grandma opens the door. There's death. Black cloak, bony hand wrapped around the scythe. Death begins to step into my grandmother's apartment. He's about to take her life. And my grandma says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, not so fast." And death gets mad. Death says, "No. I don't care how entrenched your 1950s gender roles are in your need to compulsively clean your apartment hallway. I'm not taking off my shoes." My grandma said, "That's fine. Just put on these little plastic booties." Death came knocking on my grandmother's door twice. And both times she said, "Hello." Thank you guys so much. You guys have been a wonderful audience. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Before I go, first of all, let's hear it for your host and your opener, Mo and Matt. Please let them hear it. They're fantastic. And for our DJ, and Adam for recording this special, Amelia for coming out and shooting this for the Reynolds School of Journalism. Seriously. And also, I want to give a really big thank you to the man who made this all possible, Nick Dismang. Seriously, thank you. I was a 16-year-old kid, and he gave me a shot to produce a show here. And I've been doing it for 2 years now, and it's helped make my dream into a reality. I get to pursue this art that I love. And it's thanks to him, and I'm so glad to be standing on his stage. Please give him a hand. Thank you. And you know what? While you're at it, cheer for yourselves, because you guys have shown up every month supporting this thing that I love, and I'm so glad to have you here. Reno, I love you. Good night. Me walking was just for the recording. There's one more thing. I care about production value. Now, do you guys remember that snake on a pride flag joke?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you want, we now have limited edition vinyl snake on a pride flag stickers, complete with "Don't Tread on Them" motto. You can stick them on your truck, you can stick them on your water bottle, you can offend the liberal and the conservative uncle at the same time at Thanksgiving. It's great.